Hey everyone, welcome to Comic Artist Pro Secrets. My name is Ethan Van Sciver. Some of you call me Uncle Ethan, and that's great. I'll be your uncle. You could be my nieces and nephews. I already have a few. I'm just a humble ink and superhero merchant. This morning I woke up to an article on MILO Yiannopoulos.net. Yiannopoulos is a rather famous British conservative kind of personality. He does political lectures, and he's known for kind of being over the top. But anyway, he did an article about the Gotham City pizza incident, which is fine. I just find it's rife with little inaccuracies, and we'll go through it. I don't. You have to excuse me if I sound a little bit more perturbed than normal, but I'll try to. Okay, ready? In with anger, out with love. Right? Just zen. In and out. Breathe. Okay. Ready? Let's go. All right. So the article says, pizza parlor vandalized after conservative DC Comics artist eats pizza there. Well, okay. Right in the title. And conservative, I guess that's a relative term. It's not like, so am I conservative compared to others at DC Comics? Maybe. Okay. And after I eat pizza there, that's true. All right. So it says the subject of a relentless smear campaign in the comic book industry, Donald Trump supporter Ethan Van Sciver, is no stranger to attacks from self-professed Antifa members and other leftist colleagues. Now they're coming for places where he spends money. Well, okay, look, most of it's true. I spent zero money at Gotham City Pizza. In fact, I was paid to be there. I was hired to go and entertain the crowd. I was hired to go and sign comics. I was hired to draw on their walls and, basically just entertain the crowd of people who were there to eat pizza and drink beer, and that's what I did. I was comped pizza. It was wonderful. And by the way, if you're ever in Ormond Beach and you have the opportunity to go visit Gotham City Pizza, take it from someone who lives in New Jersey, has most of his life. We know pizza. New Jersey, Philadelphia, New York, we do pizza better than anyone outside of Italy. And Gotham City Pizza, their pizza is excellent. Also, they have some terrific IPAs, great beers. So if you're looking for a good time, you want to read some comic books and just have lunch with some pals, I would suggest you go to Gotham City Pizza. So we have to correct that. I spent no money at Gotham City Pizza. In fact, I received money for going to Gotham City Pizza, which is my job. All right, so the article says, the artist alleges that those angry at him may be taking their efforts up a notch after a comic book-themed pizza restaurant had its front door smashed the day after he visited the venue for a meetup with fans of his work. Yeah, I mean, I don't allege. I'm suspicious. I think it's strange. Best known for his work on DC Comics' Green Lantern and Batman, the openly conservative Sciver. Look, it's Van Sciver, guys. It's 2 words, 1 last name. Sciver is actually a town. It's a kind of bastardized, Americanized version of Schifo, which is a town in Holland. And Van means from. So my last name actually means from Schifo, which is how they used to create last names, I guess. Van and Von mean from. All right, so the openly conservative Van Sciver faced accusations of being a, quote, Nazi apologist. Ooh, that's ugly. He has been targeted by Dan Slott. Hold on a second. Writer on Amazing Spider-Man and Disney Spider-Man cartoon. Oh, that's such a lie. Guys, Dan Slott is a friend of mine. Well, an acquaintance. We're friendly. Dan Slott, as far as I know, has never said one negative word about me, and probably never would. I would hope not. I think that he and I are at odds on a few political issues, but when it comes to this, he's squarely in my corner. All right, so that's not true. And comic book critics like Kieran Shiak and Tim Doyle, yeah, those two guys are clowns, and that is quite correct. And here's a quote from Tim Doyle. Comic artist Ethan Van Sciver is either a legit homophobic Nazi, Jesus, that's a redundancy, I would think, or is pretending to be one. Why would I ever pretend to be that? Why would I be that? Most of my friends are gay. Whew. Either way, I'm no longer supporting him, wrote Doyle in May. Well, I'm sorry that you're no longer supporting me. You're wrong. You're lying. You're either wrong or you're lying. Either way, I'm no longer pretending that you're a journalist, Tim Doyle. Kieran Shiak is an interesting case. He has his own podcast, and I listened to it, and he talked about being depressed, severely depressed, over a lot of things that were going wrong in his life. And although I was angry with the things that he was saying about me, which were untrue, I didn't want to pursue any sort of legal action against him or any action against him whatsoever, because I felt for him. I could hear it in his voice. I could tell he was broken inside, and I'm pretty happy and healthy, so I'm not out to hurt anyone else, and I just kind of hope the truth would prevail, and I hope eventually it does, and maybe one day he'll apologize to me. I'm not holding my breath, but you know, this is how political ideology works. I mean, people just lie and then double down on lies, and don't really care who it hurts, as long as they're your political opponents. And someone like me is gonna bear the brunt of that, because I am the odd man out. I have always been forthright about who I am, and rather fearless in doing so when people told me I shouldn't. And it didn't make any sense to me. It didn't make sense when people would say, don't talk about, are you worried about being blacklisted? Are you worried about this and that? I was never worried. I trusted my peers, and I trusted the goodness of, the inherent goodness within this industry, where we tell stories about heroes and people struggling to be good and kind and pure. I never felt like people would lie about me or make rash judgments about me that were untrue, because I believe we look at what's inside, and that turned out to be wrong. After Trump won the election, I began to feel a severe backlash. People making things up about me, frankly. And it's hard to really respond to those things without drawing more attention to them. So I've chosen to mostly kind of ignore it. But yeah, it's painful, and it's annoying. All right, so let's move on with the article, though. According to the Daily Caller, and that's a conservative website, a news site, there is no evidence of Van Sciver's supposed political beliefs. The only proof offered by his critics is a 2007 sketchbook published by DC Comics. That's not true. It was self-published, depicting comic book villain Sinestro as Adolf Hitler, called My Struggle. Just a myriad of inaccuracies there. So DC Comics did not publish any of my sketchbooks. They were self-published and distributed at San Diego Comic-Con. Received very well, sold through 1,000 copies. Everyone was happy to get one, and a lot of people saw the wry joke on the cover. Sinestro, of course, was modeled to look like, or to behave more like, Adolf Hitler, in the sense that he was more imperious and scary and evil. His haircut was changed to sort of resemble Hitler as well, and it was widely known. I talked about it in all my interviews, and thought it worked pretty well, because the character immediately became more successful, more interesting. More people were interested to see Hal Jordan beat him up, and that's what this is all about. And the sketchbook was called My Struggle. which I thought everyone would get. Of course, my struggle is the English translation of Mein Kampf, which was Hitler's manifesto. It worked on three different levels. On the one hand, obviously, we have the Sinestro as Hitler surface element. On the other hand, there is the fact that as a Republican, I was frequently called a Nazi, but kind of in a joking fashion, never assertive. It was never like, this guy is a Nazi. Like, that's new. That's a new kind of thing that seems surreal to me. It's very strange. So it was kind of a joke like that. And then also because the work contained therein was my struggle, my own personal struggle to become a comic book artist. If you buy it, and you can find it on eBay, you'll see that it contains my very earliest work with Cyberfrog, before Cyberfrog actually saw publication. All of those pages are there, and all the way up to my work at that current moment in 2007. So I thought it was a three-way joke that was clever, and again, it was clever then. I guess now, in this crazy political climate, it is a sign that I am evil. Okay, in the comics, this is back to the article. In the comics, Sinestro is more or less Space Hitler, so the comparison is apt. Yeah, so that's... Van Sciver's critics fail to mention that another one of the artist's sketchbooks is titled Manifesto and is designed to look like a communist book replete with Russian text. Right, so basically I was going to do a series of sketchbooks every year that look like radical political tracks, and my next one would have been a Cuban Revolution styled, 1959 kind of book, but I never got around to it because they were expensive to produce. And you have to go to big conventions in order to sell them to make your money back. And so I did two. I did one that was kind of Nazi, and the other one was communist. Two of the most evil, doctrines to ever exist on the planet, at least in our time. And it was just, it was meant to be kind of a naughty joke, but whatever. Okay, so... Let me move on with the article. Despite being neither a Nazi or a communist, Van Sciver has received threats from social justice warriors outraged by his conservative beliefs and support for Donald Trump. And it happened instantly. It happened the day after Trump won. Suddenly it wasn't funny anymore, and people became much less friendly to me. The article, a day after he visited Gotham City Pizza Parlor in Ormond Beach, Florida, the business posted about an attempted break-in. Word of the vandalism spread on social media and comic book communities. Comicbook.com reporter Christian Hoffer detailed the events on Twitter with claims from Van Sciver, the owners of the pizza place, and a police report that somewhat undermines Van Sciver's allegation that the violence was directed towards him. Well, I don't think it was an allegation as much as it was a suspicion. I think if there are terrorist threats about an airplane and that airplane explodes in midair, one is quick to connect the two. Even if that doesn't necessarily turn out to be the case, it certainly does make sense to tie those two things together. And the truth, let's find out what the truth is. Luckily, the police are investigating this. Okay, so back to the article. According to Hoffer, the pizza place owner had initially believed that his business had been just one of 20 other businesses in that area robbed that night. 20, that's a nice round number. I don't believe that. I've seen no evidence of that. I think that's made up. What I have seen is that a week before, 2 miles away, a barbecue place had his front door kicked in and his business was robbed. So these kind of break-ins happen all over the place. They do. And it's, it would be easy to conflate these two things. It's possible that this was an attempted burglary. However, no alarm went off, and it would be easy to actually smash through that glass and go in there and rob the pizza place. That didn't happen. The front door was just smashed, And again, I would need to see the police reports that Hoffer claims to have, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 other businesses in the area were robbed that night. I haven't seen that. And that would make these guys very prolific, these robbers who don't actually fulfill the robbery, but not very profitable. So I'm open to all information. I would like this to not be political. That would be great. That would be terrific, because if it is political, if this was a threat that was realized, that's a terrifying thing. And I don't want that line to be crossed. I don't want it to be crossed about me, over me. I would like to feel safe to go and fulfill what I consider to be my obligations to my fans, making personal appearances and signing comics and drawing for you all. I'd like to feel safe. I'll do it anyway, even if I'm not safe, but I want to feel safe. Okay, so Hoffer wrote, quote, "You're going to see a lot of nonsense about this over the next couple of days. It helps to know your facts." Following up, the owner of the store noted that while there were several robberies in the area, the police don't think they were related. He also stated that according to the police, the burglar/vandal had almost broken through the door, but stopped for some reason. He said that Ethan Van Sciver did inform him of the threats earlier that day. Anyways, while the owner's initial Facebook post says that it was an attempted break-in, the owner told me he couldn't be sure now. Of course not. Also, the owner said that the attempted break-in of his business did not match how the other burglaries in the area occurred. So, ... yeah, it's hard to know. You can't know these things, but all you can know is there was a threat. It was a very clear threat. It actually specifically mentioned the time and place that I would be. And lo and behold, Twitter accounts, back to the article, Twitter accounts associated with the threats towards Ethan Van Sciver have since been suspended for violating the website's terms of service. But one of them had warned the artist from going to the Florida restaurant, in the days prior to his visit. Yeah, about a month. When I announced that I would be there on November 4th, I began to receive threats about going there. I reported to Twitter the threats, and that one specific account was suspended. No, I don't know if it's suspended, just removed. Suspended kind of means that they're going to come back. I don't think they're going to come back. But who knows? I don't know how Twitter works. Okay, back to the article. The artist fans have since raised $1,000. No, that's wrong. This article is just wrong. The artist fans have since raised $1,345 for Gotham City Pizza Parlor to repair the door. All right. So that is, that's the inaccurate article on MILOYIANNOPOULOS.net this morning. I woke up to it shocked, and what are you going to do? I mean, these things kind of spin out of control unless you and become something else, unless you're there to just say no. Let's go over the facts here, and let's talk about what they actually are. And I'm all about the facts. I'd like to know. I'd like to know the truth about what happened. So anyway, we will find out. This is Comic Artist Pro Secrets. I have been and continue to be Ethan Van Sciver. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe. Please hit the bell for notifications. And together we are going to explore the secrets of comic book art. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.